When driving in traffic, it is safest to A. Fluctuate your speed to keep alert. B. Drive faster than the flow of traffic. C. Drive slower than the flow of traffic. D. Drive with the flow of traffic. D. Drive with the flow of traffic. Crashes often happen when some drivers go faster or slower than other vehicles on the road. Always try to drive with the flow of traffic, within the posted speed limit. Which of the following are used on some highways to direct drivers into the proper lanes for turning? A. Flashing red lights. B. Flashing yellow lights. C. White lines on the side of the road. D. White arrows in the middle of the lanes. D. White arrows in the middle of the lanes. Arrows may be used to indicate which lanes should be used for specific purposes, such as driving straight or making a turn. You must yield for emergency vehicles? A. Under no circumstances. B. When you see a flashing red or blue light or hear a siren. C. Only when other vehicles yield. D. None of the above. B. When you see a flashing red or blue light or hear a siren. You must yield the right of way to any emergency vehicle that is using its siren or flashing lights. Passing is prohibited. A. On hills and curves. B. At intersections. C. At railroad crossings. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Locations where it is unlawful and unsafe to pass another vehicle include hills, curves, intersections, and railroad crossings.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
Your body gets rid of approximately A. 3 alcoholic drinks an hour. B. 1 alcoholic drink an hour. C. 2 alcoholic drinks an hour. D. None of the above. Lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions are divided by. Fill in the blank. Lines. A. White. B. Red. C. Black. D. Yellow. D. Yellow. Yellow lines are used to divide traffic moving in opposite directions. A double solid yellow line down the center of a two-lane road indicates A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. B. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. C. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are not permitted to pass. D. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. Yellow lines are used to separate traffic moving in opposite directions. Solid lines indicate that drivers are not permitted to pass. You come to an intersection that is blocked by other traffic. You should A. Go slowly until the traffic ahead moves. B. Get as close as possible to the car in front of you. C. Stay out of the intersection until you can pass through. D. Sound your horn to make the cars move up. C. Stay out of the intersection until you can pass through. You cannot enter an intersection if traffic is backed up on the other side and you cannot get completely through the intersection. Wait until traffic ahead clears so you do not block the intersection. If you are stopped by a police officer, you should A. Unbuckle your seat belt and lower your window. B. Get your paperwork ready before the officer reaches your car. C. Stay in your vehicle with your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the officer to approach you. D. Get out of your car and walk toward the patrol car. C. Stay in your vehicle with your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the officer to approach you. If you are stopped by the police, keep your hands on the wheel and ask any passengers to keep their hands in view as well. You should remain in the vehicle unless the police officer asks you to get out. Wait until the officer asks you to retrieve your driver license, registration, and insurance cards. This road sign means A. When pavement is wet, reduce your speed. B. The road ahead winds a series of turns or curves. C. Traffic increases ahead. D. Steep grade ahead. A. When pavement is wet, reduce your speed. This sign warns that pavement is slippery when wet. In wet conditions, you should reduce your speed, avoid braking or changing direction suddenly, and increase the distance between your vehicle and the one ahead. Which is not a factor in determining the distance that it takes to stop your vehicle? A. Steering ability. B. Braking distance. C. Reaction distance. D. Perception time. A. Steering ability. The distance required to stop your vehicle depends on perception time, reaction distance, and braking distance. This changes with speed and road conditions. Your blind spot is the area of the road. A. You cannot see without moving your head. B. Directly behind your vehicle. C. You see in your rear view mirror. D. You see in your side mirror. A. You cannot see without moving your head. Blind spots are areas that a driver cannot see without moving their head. They can be located to the sides of and behind a vehicle. This sign means A. Crossroad ahead. B. Flagger ahead. C. Lane ends. D. Turn right or go straight. A. Crossroad ahead. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign alerts drivers to an upcoming intersection. Distracted driving is A. Very uncommon. B. Extremely risky behavior. C. Nothing to be concerned about. D. No less safe than driving under any other conditions. B. Extremely risky behavior. Distracted driving is extremely risky behavior that puts not only you and your passengers in danger, but also endangers pedestrians, bicyclists, and other motorists sharing the road. Focused attention on driving helps to prevent crashes. If you stop along the road at night, A. Turn off all your lights. B. Use your parking lights only. C. Use your headlights only. D. Turn on your emergency flashers and leave your low beams turned on. D. Turn on your emergency flashers and leave your low beams turned on. If you stop along the road at night, turn on your emergency flashers and leave your low beam headlights turned on. Be sure that other road users will be able to clearly see your vehicle. The volume of your stereo should not be so loud that you are unable to hear the sounds of traffic. A. True. B. False. When driving under icy or snowy conditions, which driving technique will help drivers avoid crashes? A. Add extra weight to their vehicles to improve traction. B. Get off the highways as quickly as possible. C. Engage the four-wheel drive on their vehicles. D. Reduce their speed and increase their following distance. D. Reduce their speed and increase their following distance. Reduce your speed when roads are snow-covered or icy. Doing this and increasing your following distance are the most important techniques for avoiding crashes under snowy or icy conditions. This road sign means A. The road ahead curves right. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. B. Divided highway begins. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. C. Merge. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. D. Winding road ahead. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. A. The road ahead curves right. Slow down to the safe speed indicated. These signs indicate that the road curves to the right ahead and that drivers should slow down to the safe speed indicated, in this case, 35 miles per hour. What color are pavement markings that separate traffic lanes moving in opposite direction? A. Yellow. B. White. C. Yellow and white. D. Yellow, white, and black. A. Yellow. Yellow lines are used in the center of the road to separate lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions. The consumption of alcohol while taking drugs can A. Decrease the effects of the drugs and alcohol. B. Increase the effects of both the drugs and alcohol. C. Help cure your illness. D. Improve your driving ability. B. Increase the effects of both the drugs and alcohol. The combination of alcohol and drugs, in some cases, can increase the effects of both the drugs and alcohol. It can be unsafe to drive after consuming either alcohol or drugs and is even more dangerous after combining them. How can you lower the risk of hydroplaning? A. Do not speed when the roads are wet. B. Use tires with proper air pressure. C. Replace tires with bad tread. D. All of the above. The no zone is A. A term used to describe blind spots around a truck or bus. B. A special speed zone. C. A roadway with restrictions on vehicle stereo volume. D. The television show that replaced the Twilight Zone. A. A term used to describe blind spots around a truck or bus. A truck or bus has blind spots on each side, in the rear, and in the front. An automobile cannot be seen in these blind spots. These blind spots are referred to as the no zone. A work zone. A. May be moving or stationary. B. Is marked with black and white signs. C. Does not require a driver to slow down and pay extra attention. D. All of the above. A. May be moving or stationary. Work zones are often stationary, but they may also be present in the form of moving vehicles striping lines, mowing, or removing snow. Work zones are marked by orange signs with black lettering or symbols. Slow down and pay extra attention when approaching or driving through a work zone. To be safe when crossing a railroad, you should A. Look both ways, but only when the red light is flashing. B. Listen, look both ways, and then proceed if it is safe to do so. C. Cross especially quickly when a train is approaching. D. Quickly pass under any lowering gates. B. Listen, look both ways, and then proceed if it is safe to do so. Railroad crossings are always dangerous. Drivers should look and listen for an approaching train coming from either direction before proceeding across the tracks. Watch for signals indicating an approaching train and never proceed until you are certain it is safe to do so. This sign means A. You must turn left or right. B. You are approaching a T intersection. C. The road that you are on intersects with a divided highway. D. You are on an overpass above a divided highway. C. The road that you are on intersects with a divided highway. This sign indicates that the road that you are on intersects with a divided highway. A divided highway is two one-way roadways separated by a median or guide rail. Before switching on the ignition, you should A. Be sure only backseat passengers have buckled their seat belts. B. Be sure only adult passengers have buckled their seat belts. C. Be sure only child passengers have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. Develop a routine for entering and leaving your car. Before switching on the ignition, buckle your safety belt and see that all passengers do likewise. This sign means A. Watch for trucks. B. Do not pass trucks. C. Truck parking area ahead. D. Steep downgrade ahead. D. Steep downgrade ahead. This sign warns of the presence of a hill ahead. This sign means A. Trucks only. B. Trucks are entering the highway. C. Upcoming hill. D. Trucks have the right of way. C. Upcoming hill. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped with black markings on a yellow background. They alert drivers to upcoming hazards. This sign indicates that drivers are approaching a steep hill and should prepare to adjust their speeds to continue to drive safely. In which of the following ways can alcoholic beverages affect you? A. It slows your reaction time. B. It gives you a feeling of false confidence. C. It impairs your thinking ability. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Alcohol dulls the parts of your brain that control inhibition, judgment, and self-control. As a result, you may feel stimulated, lively, and a bit giddy or foolish after consuming alcohol. Alcohol also impairs your reaction time, coordination, and balance. Your vision and ability to judge distance suffers after alcohol consumption, making it difficult to react to your surroundings. When you are being tailgated. A. Move over to the right, if there is an open lane to your right. B. If there is not an open lane to your right, wait until the way is clear ahead and reduce your speed slowly to encourage the tailgater to drive around you. C. Never slow down abruptly. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. If you are being tailgated by another driver and there is a right lane, move over to the right. If there is no right lane, wait until the road ahead is clear and then reduce your speed slowly. This will encourage the tailgater to drive around you. Never slow down abruptly, as this will only increase the risk of your vehicle being hit from behind. A driver entering public traffic from a driveway or private road. A. Has the right of way. B. Should yield to drivers already on the public road. C. May force their way into traffic. D. Can assume that other drivers will change lanes to make room. B. Should yield to drivers already on the public road. If you are entering traffic from a driveway or private road, you should yield to drivers already on the public road. Merge safely into traffic when you are able to do so. If you are turning onto a street with more than one lane traveling in your direction, you should A. Turn into the lane closest to your previous lane. B. Turn into the lane marked with an arrow. C. Turn into the middle lane. D. Turn into any lane. A. Turn into the lane closest to your previous lane. When turning onto a street with more than one lane moving in the direction that you are traveling, turn into the lane that is closest to your previous lane. Do not change lanes when turning. If your wheels drop off the pavement and onto the shoulder of the road, you should A. Brake hard and turn sharply back onto the pavement. B. Stop your car on the edge of the road. C. Slow down and very carefully turn back onto the pavement. D. Maintain your speed and turn sharply back onto the pavement. C. Slow down and very carefully turn back onto the pavement. If your wheels drop off the pavement and onto a low shoulder, you should reduce your speed without braking and very carefully turn back onto the pavement. Be aware of any nearby traffic when re-entering the road. When approaching a four-way stop, drivers must yield the right of way to all motorists who arrived before them. A. True. B. False. A. True. At a four-way stop, you must yield the right of way to drivers who arrived before you. Wait your turn to enter the intersection. A railroad crossbuck sign should be treated the same as a yield sign. A. True. B. False. A. True. A railroad crossing crossbuck sign is considered a yield sign and a driver must yield the right of way to any oncoming trains and railroad equipment. An octagonal sign is always A. Speed limit sign. B. Stop sign. C. Hospital sign. D. Railroad warning sign. B. Stop sign. Octagonal signs are always stop signs. Come to a complete stop when approaching a red, 8-sided sign. Driving significantly under the speed limit is A. Optional. B. Smart. C. Safe. D. Dangerous. D. Dangerous. Unless conditions require it, driving significantly below the posted speed limit can be dangerous. A slow driver forces other drivers to take unnecessary risks while trying to pass. If an approaching train is near enough or going fast enough to be a danger, you must A. Slow down and proceed with caution. B. Not cross the tracks until the train has completely passed. C. Cross the tracks at your own risk. D. Find an alternative route across tracks. B. Not cross the tracks until the train has completely passed. You should look and listen for trains before crossing any railroad tracks. If an approaching train is near enough or going fast enough to be a danger, you cannot go across the tracks. This is true even if they have no signals or the signals are not working. What does this road sign mean? A. Slow down and prepare to stop if cars are approaching you. B. Come to a full stop and go when it is safe to do so. C. Proceed carefully through the intersection, not always stopping. D. Stop only for traffic on an intersecting road. B. Come to a full stop and go when it is safe to do so. A stop sign means that you must come to a full stop and yield the right of way to vehicles and pedestrians in or heading toward the intersection. Go again when it is safe. The presence of double solid yellow lines means you may pass another vehicle from either direction. A. True. B. False. B. False. A double solid yellow line means that it is prohibited for vehicles traveling in either direction to cross the center line to pass. When driving past a vehicle that has just stopped in a parked position on the side of the road, you should A. Assume that the driver will open the car door as you approach. B. Speed up. C. Slam on your brakes. D. Assume that the driver will wait for you to pass before opening the door. A. Assume that the driver will open the car door as you approach. When passing a vehicle that has just parked parallel to the road, you should assume the driver will open the door as you approach. Use extra caution when driving near parked vehicles. Certain highway signs contain information about hazardous conditions. Such signs are known as A. Regulatory signs. B. Warning signs. C. Information signs. D. Guide signs. B. Warning signs. Warning signs advise drivers of potentially hazardous conditions. For your own safety, obey warning signs. Disregarding the information provided by a warning sign may result in an accident due to your negligence. When parallel parking between two cars, you should first A. Turn your wheels to the left. B. Turn your wheels to the right. C. Pull up even with the car in front of your desired parking space. D. Back slowly. C. Pull up even with the car in front of your desired parking space. After finding a parking space, checking traffic, and signaling, you should stop parallel to the vehicle directly ahead of your desired parking space before turning your wheel to park. An arrow painted on the pavement means A. Drivers in the proper lane may make the movement indicated by the arrow, if they choose to do so. B. Drivers in the proper lane must make the movement indicated by the arrow, but only if traffic lights are not working. C. Drivers in the proper lane must always come to a complete stop before making the movement indicated by the arrow. D. Drivers in the proper lane must make the movement indicated by the arrow while following directions indicated by traffic signals. D. Drivers in the proper lane must make the movement indicated by the arrow while following directions indicated by traffic signals. An arrow painted on the pavement within a traffic lane indicates that drivers in the lane must make the movement indicated by the arrow. Drivers should follow directions given by any traffic signs or signals before proceeding in the direction indicated by the arrow. Who is required to wear a seat belt in a moving vehicle? A. The driver. B. Child passengers. C. Adult passengers. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. In Nevada, all occupants of a moving vehicle are required to wear a seat belt. Children under the age of 6, and those who weigh less than 60 pounds, must ride in an approved child restraint system. You want to turn left at an intersection. The light is green but oncoming traffic is heavy. You should A. Use the next intersection. B. Wait at the crosswalk for traffic to clear. C. Wait in the center of the intersection for traffic to clear. D. Take the right of way since you have a green light. C. Wait in the center of the intersection for traffic to clear. When making a left turn where there is approaching traffic, you must wait for the approaching traffic to go through before you turn. You may enter the intersection to prepare for your left turn if the light is green and no other vehicle ahead of you plans to make a left turn. On long trips, you can prevent drowsiness by A. Turning on your car radio. B. Slowing down. C. Stopping at regular intervals for a rest. D. Moving your eyes from side to side as you drive. C. Stopping at regular intervals for a rest. To prevent drowsiness on long trips, you should schedule regular stops. Give yourself time to rest and stretch, even if you are not feeling tired. The amount of space you need to cross traffic depends on the A. Road conditions, weather conditions, and oncoming traffic. B. Presence of a stop sign. C. Use of your turn signals. D. Cars behind you. A. Road conditions, weather conditions, and oncoming traffic. The amount of space you need to cross traffic depends on the road conditions, weather conditions, and oncoming traffic. A red traffic signal light means that you must A. Stop at the stop line. B. Stop before entering any crosswalk. C. Stop before entering the intersection. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. A red traffic light means that you must stop before entering the intersection. You must at any stop line and before entering any crosswalk.